Welcome to the Veteran Gamers. Stay a while and listen while we tell you the tale of amazing hack and slash action RPG games released in the last couple of years. If you missed some of these games, they are still worth checking out, especially if you are a fan of the genre. Path of Exile is an online action RPG set in the dark fantasy world of Wraeclast. It is designed around a strong online item economy, deep character customization, competitive PvP, and ladder races. Not one expansion or feature costs money, while in the game shop's only item that isn't purely cosmetic just expands the size of your already large stash. Character progression and customization is perhaps the strongest selling point of the game. The game is famous for its passive skill tree, which is really more like a passive skill forest with countless ways to build your character. This is where most of the replayable value comes in, trying out different builds and characters. Worth noting is that when you die, you lose part of accumulated experience points, so it may not be easy to reach max level. This is a welcome addition for players looking for additional challenge. Another strong point of the game is that it is constantly being updated. Ever since its official release in 2013, there is a lot of different avenues for playing the endgame, which include but are not limited to maps, the main bread and butter endgame activity packed with its own storyline after completion of the main campaign, Labyrinth, a trap-filled maze with high potential for loot and has a unique boss with MMO raid-like mechanic, to delve an infinitely scaling dungeon to test the limits of your characters, to fighting high-level bosses. There are currently 10 acts of increasing difficulty in the game. Acts are split in two parts, with part 2 revisiting Wraeclast in change and environment. Whenever you create a new character, you specify what league you want them to join, which is essentially the game type. Path of Exile is unusual among action RPG games in that there is no in-game currency. The game's economy is based on bartering currency items. These have and serve purpose within the game, typically modifying items. Weapons and armors are randomly generated from the wide variety of basic types and endowed with special properties and gem sockets. They come in different rarities, with increasingly powerful properties. Unique items are incredibly powerful and of course incredibly expensive. They can be acquired as a rare loot or through trading with other players.
I'll stand on this one. You stand on the other, Exile.
It seems there is a pattern online games follow. Older they get, better they are. Diablo 3 is not an exception, and still is a popular and gets out recommendation even now. Diablo series of the game defined the action RPG genre. Diablo 3 may not have impressed every fan of Blizzard's action RPG series, but 6 years after its release, we can say that it's still one of the best games of this genre this decade. Important part of games like this is a famous loot that falls out of the chests and monsters themselves. Whether it's blue item or higher quality items, it's always interesting to look at statistic and compare them with your current equipment. The plot is relatively intriguing and it boils down to meteor shower in Tristan. Of course, this event points to a series of threats that are yet to come, but we leave that part of the plot to you for discover. It is our impression that this story is not an epic that we will retell to our children, but it cannot be denied that it's well thought out. There are unpredictable turns and interesting plot twists. After all, the story is much more interesting now that the characters have their voices. Great animations that connect the story through the 4 chapters are also to be commended. Player no longer has a dilemma in which order to unlock skills. This order is now predefined by the game itself, and the player is given another choice. Specifically, each class can use 6 active and 3 passive skills simultaneously. Going forward unlocks 20 active and 15 passive skills, so it's up to the player to choose which one to use. Some people may not like this simplicity, but it should be emphasized that this does not mean that the game has no challenge. On the contrary, the Inferno difficulty offers quite a challenge. Playing with different classes is always a different experience, and since the campaign takes around 15 hours on average, Diablo 3 has a great replay value. Multiplayer allows 4 players to play at the same time and automatically adjusts the difficulty of the game based on number of players. PvP is available in limited form of the brawling system, which provides a simple free-for-all area where between 2 and 4 characters can fight and defeat each other as long as they are like, but without any scores or damage being tracked. Titan Quest built its identity primarily through the interesting setting in ancient Greece, where a bunch of mythical beings greeted the player. The variety of opponents was crucial to this hack-and-slash game, as well as fairly good balance between different skills. Cooperative multiplayer for 6 players definitely aided to the success of this game, while the level editor included with the game made it possible to create user content when we didn't even know what the term DLC meant. 3 years ago, we received Anniversary Edition and mobile port in 2017. After 11 years, a new expansion called Ragnarok, which takes us to the cold regions of Northern Europe, and in 2019, expansion called Atlantis, which sets you on a journey across the Western Mediterranean. If you own all Titan Quests, you will get Anniversary Edition for free. This edition brings us Titan Quest and Titan Quest Immortal Throne, along with other of 1,000 updates and enhancements that both games have received over 10-year lifespan. The game has a huge world to explore, which you will run through 3 times. Somehow chapter 2 in the game is always a desert. Of course you can call it quits after completing normal difficulty, but you would miss out on some legendary bosses that only appears in the higher difficulties. And all the legendary loot as well, that only drops in the highest difficulty. The game has a dual system class, which means great replayability. Even the music is good in this game, especially in the final act. Worth noting are things like the enemies dropping only what they actually use, which means that you will have to fight for a strong weapon by killing the enemies who is using it. Grim Dawn is considered one of the best action RPGs in the years. It was made by the developers of the Titan Quest. Comparing the simplicity and fun of Diablo and the complexity of Path of Exile, let's say Grim Dawn can be played somewhere in between. As for the main story of the game, as with most isometric action RPG titles, don't expect a spectacle, but the story serves a purpose. You step into the shoes of the hero who finds himself in the once proud empire of Cairn, which due to the war between the human race and the above-earth powers has turned into the gloomy and dangerous world. The feeling of gloomy Cairn is pretty well evoked, and it's reminiscent of the days when Diablo was still a gloomy and serious title. In addition to Cairn being an extremely large world, the game also offers the ability to combine 2 different classes that give you character the ability to mix different skills. The story will branch depending on your actions and decisions you make while playing. The game shows that the main inspiration is from Diablo, so be prepared to buy a new mouse after finishing the game. The main difference between Crate and Blizzard's title, though, is that your character in Grim Dawn has the ability to use both melee and ranged weapons, and that's exactly where the ability to combine the 2 classes comes to the spotlight. Grim Dawn is absolutely brilliant in terms of quests, which really have a lot to do, and in order to solve them and find them, you will need to pay attention. In other words, not everything is served on a platter, which is good. The game needs this kind of challenge, especially since it is an open world RPG. Grim Dawn's main focus is a single player action, though it supports multiplayer for up to 4 players. The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing is action RPG hack and slash title of an independent development studio, Neocore Games from Hungary. It's a low budget title that doesn't try to be something it is not, and that doesn't try to redefine the genre. Instead, Van Helsing strives to be unique with its unconventional gothic noir steampunk environment, cleverly written characters, and a rich world imbued with mysteries and mysticism. The main protagonist of the adventure is the son of Abraham Van Helsing, the main character in the novel Dracula by Irish writer Bram Stoker. Armed to the teeth and in the company of the spirit of the patron saint of his family, the eccentric Lady Catherine, young Van Helsing spends his days traveling, killing the beasts and solving the mysteries of dark Gothic noir world set in the 19th century. Its primary destination is Borgovia, the fiction country of Eastern Europe, formerly the kingdom of good people, happiness and prosperity. Now Borgovia belongs to the scientists, ambitious individuals and former allies of old Van Helsing in the fight against vampires. Scientists have made the land of chaos from Borgovia because of their greed, exploiting its inhabitants and performing experiments that border more on dark forces and magic than on science. Here young Van and Lady Catherine jumps into the story, trying their best to save Borgovia from the trouble that have stuck it. One of the brightest points of this game is the interaction between Van and Catherine. Their relationship is based on multiple mutual insult and ridicule. Sarcasm and cynicism are often their weapons as their quarrel, but underneath all of that lies an unquestionable mutual respect and friendship. What makes Van Helsing special in the sea of hack and slash games is its mystical noir atmosphere and the many secrets you'll come across. Every region you are in hides a variety of secrets that are easy to miss if you don't explore carefully. Van Helsing doesn't have a standard character creation. Instead, you get one rich tree of talents in which you choose the powers that shape Vane into what you want him to be: a tank, a hunter, a wizard, etc. Like almost any game of this type, Van Helsing has a multiplayer. The maximum number of players is 4 and multiplayer can only be accessed online. 2 additional games were released, but don't worry, you don't have to buy all of them. The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing Final Cut combines the entire Van Helsing trilogy, plus all of the downloadable content, into one giant package. The Final Cut also revises the entire experience to make the content more compelling. A development studio known for the Tropico series has decided to dive into our RPG waters and give us something different in this established genre. The first thing is the ability to jump. This may not seem like an overly important element, but in all classic action RPGs, you are nailed to the ground. Plus, the hero of this story can also roll. Another important thing is the lack of skills, which the game compensates by their addition to the weapons. There are also no classes in the game, but by choosing an outfit for Victor, you choose how to generate overdrive, a system that fills in combat and uses demon powers for special skills and activation of special effects on weapon or cards called destiny cards. Demonic powers help you directly within combat, and cards will help you with the statistical part of the character. The last thing we could single out is the voices of the main couple, Victor and the narrator, who makes fun of you all the time. The first time Victor spoke, my reaction was, "Geralt?" Is that you? The same actor gives voice to the famous White Wolf from the Witcher saga. The two will definitely keep you in the game longer than you thought. The story begins with your arrival in the city plagued by onslaught of demons, vampires and the like. In the nearby castle is located the only human stronghold, which serves as a hub for traders, equipment for crafting or improving found objects, and as a place to take quests to continue the action. Victor Vran brings some freshness to the action RPG genre. It may not have depth like some other RPGs, but there are enough different things to intrigue you for a while. This concludes today's video. Thank you for watching. Keep an eye on upcoming action RPGs such as Vulcan, Lords of Mayhem, Torchlight, Frontiers and Lost Ark. All of them should be released in 2020. We will cover these games on our channel and many other games, news and anything which is of interest to veteran gamers. So be sure to subscribe and share if you enjoy our videos. See you in the next video.